shonga chuji anji podrana toksen sanji kanjin konyin rasme shurga mazma stunza sawe lama namla sorate kirbe sanji chua shigdanye nyamba droba shomla tanda sanjine manere dambe janso lokto janso shabla sorate lame josme janso toje dang shirke kere pema shomla ji shenru zunga gyawe nyugu ye tanda drupe tanjine drupara ho ranjin lame drambe kajela kosme jaro shidru la zohe rale jana nipru tujo tuyo irmi jivare shinji lo. Homage to Sakyamuni Buddha. Homage to our root Lama, Gyalwai Nyugu Rinpoche. Raise bodhicitta to benefit countless suffering sentient beings. May all beings have happiness and all the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and all the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the great happiness, devoid of suffering. May they forever dwell in the great equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. To sacred Bodhisattva, the precious and excellent mind, where it is not, may it arise. Where it is, may it never decline, consistently growing, rising higher and higher. And we continue these most incredible teachings of Atisha, the Bodhisattva's garland of jewels. And why are these teachings of Atisha so great? Because they help us to transform our mind from within. Many people, they look at the external world, they project at the external world. They don't look at what's happening in their inner world. And they don't realize by changing their inner world what a difference they can make in their lives. This mind of ours is really, the essence of it is emptiness and what people call luminosity, sometimes clarity, sometimes insight. This is this mind that knows, this mind that is free from all of these fabrications, knows the essence of all these fabrications. All these attachments, all these discriminations. It's like a mirror. And that mirror, if we have a mirror, what happens is it reflects everything. Whatever, as long as the mirror is clean, whatever appears before it, it reflects. And it does, whatever it appears, it doesn't accept, it doesn't hold on to, it doesn't attach to. And it also doesn't reject it. It just, whatever appears as it is in front of the mirror, coming and going, but without attachment or rejection. And why do we suffer so much? Where does all the suffering arise from? Where do all our problems arise from? Where do these afflictions arise from? Where do these anxieties and worries arise from? Because we don't know the nature of our thoughts. Why do we suffer so much as well? Because we don't live according to the natural laws of this world. We try and disregard them. Things like impermanence. Things like the infallibility of cause and effect. We suffer because of the way we think, our patterns of thinking. We think that everything is external. Everything that is external is real, truly existent. We don't realize the illusory nature of things. We don't realize the true essence of all our thoughts. Where we look at our mind. It's important to look at our mind. And if we look at our mind and we make the changes over here, then it can really, as you said earlier, it can really make a big difference in our lives. What happens? All of these obstacles arise. Just as we spoke about last week, if there's a rock in the path, you can't go any further. All of these distractions, procrastinations, anything that distracts us from our practice. The way we think, our perception, we have the wrong perception. What do we mean by wrong perception? This is also to the way we think. I think of two examples. One is when I was in the monastery, and I really wanted to be in the monastery. I really wanted to be there for some very, very special teachings, to attend them. By attending them, I could practice. Hopefully one day I'd be able to benefit sentient beings. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult for Westerners to be there. It's not looked upon, or it's not accepted by some of the authorities. And so you have to be very quiet and inconspicuous when you're there. Now one day while I was there was one of these people that was doing security, and they looked like police. So sometimes there's police over there, they're watching what's going on, and there's these people, security people, but not the normal security that we think of, that people that are paid. These are helpers, people that volunteer their time just to make sure that everything runs okay, everything runs smoothly. And it's very kind. It's a really great gesture of theirs. Anyway, one day, one of these was filming, and he was filming me, or pointing his camera at me, and he always seemed to be observing me. And I started to feel a little bit uncomfortable. I was trying to avoid him. I thought, oh no. Thoughts started to arise. I'm going to get taken away. I won't be able to stay here any longer. Starting to get a little bit upset. Not really wanting to be near this person. Sometimes thinking, oh, I wish this person would just leave me alone. Maybe some negative thoughts arising. Why? Because I wanted to do this. Yes, I want to benefit sentient beings. I want to learn how to do it. But I also had my own motives in it. It's what I wanted to do. This was my attachment. And I didn't want anybody to stop me doing what I was doing. So because of this, I started to have negative thoughts towards this person. And then later on, I was walking past and I had no option but to smile at him. He was there, right in front of me. He was looking at me. So I couldn't do anything. I just smiled. And he did nothing. He just carried on, and then he started filming something else. So what he was doing what he was asked to. He was helping. He was ensuring the safety of everybody. But in my mind, to me, I had created a distance from him, because to my mind, he was obstructing me from what I wanted to do. So sometimes our selfish goals, our attachments, pull us apart from other people, and we don't really see what's going on. Another is also once my girlfriend and I, we agreed that we were going to go join some people, go out and have some fun. And I don't know, I must have been about 25, 26 then. And I was busy, so I said to her, I'm busy, you go, and I'll come back. I'll join you about 2 hours later. And about 2 hours later, I got there, and I was looking for her, and about 20, 30 meters away, I saw her. And I looked, and I suddenly saw, wow, but she's sitting with another guy, and they're sitting really close. There seems to be a lot of body contact going on over there. So I was a little bit disturbed, not too sure what to do, and thought, how do I approach this? Do I make a scene? Do I just go there quietly? My heart was beating a little bit, or a lot. Didn't know what to say. feeling of shock, and didn't really expect this. This wasn't the how I expected to be spending the evening. So I slowly walked up to them. When I was about 2 meters away, I was just about to approach them, and they looked up, and I looked like, and they sort of, what's wrong with this guy? And I looked, it wasn't my girlfriend. It was somebody that really looked like her, same color hair, same clothes, very similar clothes. So in my mind, I created this whole story. What I saw wasn't the truth. And all sorts of stories and events were going through my mind. It wasn't actually what was happening. So then sometimes this is what happens with our minds. This is our patterns of thinking. The way we perceive things often is not the way things really are. And people in the monastery as well. Why are they in the monastery? Because they want to practice. They want to transform their mind, grow in love and kindness and compassion. But these patterns, these ways of thinking, they affect us. You can be sitting there with the greatest of intentions, and then the mind starts to work. What about going home? Maybe I should just go home. There's a few things I still want to sort out at home. And it's nice to have a shower whenever I want. It's nice to be able to eat whenever I want and what I want, and it's so easy to go and buy it. This is not possible at the monastery. There's a few people to see, a few things I want to organize. And eventually these thoughts become stronger and stronger, and eventually say, okay, I really need to go home. Now, before you were thinking maybe it would be nice to do this, now, because you've been thinking about it, there's ways of thinking about it, now it's really important. I better go home as soon as possible. I'll be back in a month. So off you go. And meanwhile, what is really driving you to go home is your attachment, your desire to be at home, to have those little luxuries and meet those people that you're so familiar with, that you enjoy being around. And then you get there and you do the things for the house and you meet friends and you have some nice food. The last thing you're thinking about is going back to the monastery. Oh, let me stay one more month. There's a few more things I want to do. Then another month, and then 6 months, and then a year. And so time goes by and you think about going back to the monastery less and less. Sometimes you think about it, it's a fleeting thought. 10 years go by. All of that time to practice has been lost. So you see these patterns of thinking. They've taken us there. And they've taken us away from our practice. Taken us away from what we originally thought, believed to be most valuable, benefiting others, transforming our own mind. How did we end up in a certain country? How did we end up in a certain city, in a certain relationship? How did we end up having this meal today? Or wanting to have a beer? All of this, where does it arise from? It arises from our patterns of thinking. Small things as well. There's little things, big things generally, they don't break relationships. Often little things break relationships and cause problems. Often when big things happen, people pull together and they do their best to resolve the problem. But the little things, they eat away. They wear away at our patience. What happens is, little thing happens, but because we're not worrying or thinking about big things, we think about this little thing often. Because we think about it often, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until a little thing really becomes a big thing. But in reality, it's a very small thing. But it becomes something that we obsess with, or it dominates our mind. And so because of this, we get angry, we get frustrated, we even get depressed, we might even commit suicide. So it's very important that we learn the true nature of mind, that we realize the true nature of mind, the essence of these thoughts, these arising thoughts. All of our 5 poisons. The 5 poisons are our attachment, our jealousy, our pride, our anger, and our ignorance. If we don't, and we don't abide in the state of mind, then we're always going to be influenced by these arising thoughts, our deluded thoughts. And if that's the case, we will always be stuck in samsara. We'll never be free from the cycle of samsara. Just like the waves in the ocean, up and down, they never stop. Sometimes the waves are big, sometimes they're small, sometimes they're swells, sometimes they're really huge and very strong. And this is the same, because of these random thoughts, these discriminations, these random thoughts. They pull us this way, they push us that way. Sometimes they're very strong, sometimes they're very weak, they have very little influence. Sometimes we're happy, we're sad, we're really hurt, we get depressed, we're full of joy. There's difficulties, there's pleasurable times. But they come in cycles. We're never really free of them. Just like a log or a piece of wood on top of the water. It's pushed this way by the waves, pushed that way by the waves. Or the wind, or the current. The wind or the current or the waves is strong, it pushes us further this way, and faster that way, more energy. The same as these thoughts. They push us this way, they push us that way. When this thought arises, off we go. This is very strong emotion, pushes us in that direction. And we really don't have control. We can't liberate it from it. We can't transform it. So we get taken away by it. Just like that piece of wood on the ocean. So this is the importance of getting to know our mind and transforming our mind. And also, we build our hopes on all these fabrications. If we build our hopes and our fears and our lives on fabrications, what happens? Fabrications eventually fall apart. Just like if you build an ice castle, a beautiful ice castle, huge, wonderful, on an ice lake. What happens? Eventually one day when the ice lake melts, your castle collapses. This is also what happens when we build our life on these fabrications or against the true natures of the world, the natural laws of the world. Eventually, things follow the natural laws of the world, and then we're upset, we're hurt. Why did everything fall apart? Why did it happen to me? Poor me. I'm so unfortunate. So if we carry on with these thoughts, what it's like is being like stuck in a cage. You can have a bird in a little cage, 1 meter by 1 meter. It's used to being free, flying wherever it wants in the jungle. Now it's in a cage. And then one day the cage door opens, it goes into this big space. It's another cage, a huge one. Maybe 100 meters. Maybe you can't even see the end. Made of gold, silver, jewels. All mirrors all over. Different food. But the reality is it's still a cage. It's still not free. So whether we're caught up in a small cage or a large cage, we're still caught up in a cage. And this is the same until we free ourselves of being mastered by all of these random thoughts, all of our emotions. We're still in a cage, we're still stuck in the cycle of samsara. So that's why, again, it's very important to realize the true essence of our mind, to realize the true nature of mind. And this is what the Dharma is doing. It's helping us how to change, how to transform from within. And as we said, it's so difficult to change the external world, to change other people. But what we can do is we can change ourselves. Change from within. And when we do, then our life really changes. The world around us starts to change. What do I mean by this? For instance, if you're always angry, you're always saying nasty things, you put people down, you criticize them, you embarrass them, you shout at them, you belittle them. People don't feel comfortable around you. Either you don't have many people around you, they don't want to be around you, because they don't know when the side of you is going to come out. Or they are there, but they have very little tolerance. They get agitated very quickly. They get frustrated very quickly. They get angry with you very quickly. So used to you being antagonistic that they're antagonistic back. They're ready to spring back, to fight back, to argue back. And then what happens if you treat everybody with love and kindness and patience and with great joy and acceptance? Everybody around you relaxes. They start enjoy being around you. They like sitting in your company. And you start to think, wow, everybody's changed so much. I wonder what happened. Is it the external world that had changed? Or was it your own change in your own mind that triggered this change? So what we're doing is we're installing a new software. Different patterns and ways of thinking. Just like we would install new software into our computer. Before, what we did in our computer, we had all of these programs and we thought that this was doing the job for us, but in reality it wasn't. Looked like it was, but in fact it wasn't. In fact, it was causing problems when we thought, hoping that it would fix the problems. And then we put in this new software, we put in antivirus. Suddenly everything runs so much more smoothly. And these programs are so great, they take up half the space or a quarter of the space. We have so much more space on our computer. Everything runs so much more smoothly. Just the way I say, with these ways changing our patterns of thinking. Thinking the way that really benefits ourselves and benefits others. And then we have much more time, we're much more relaxed. And our mind is much more open, much more spacious. And we realize that change really brings opportunity. Often we fight against change. We don't want things to change. We want them to stay the same. But the reality is everything changes. This is just the way it is. If everything stayed the same, after a while we would get bored. People would get frustrated. They'd feel dissatisfied. But things do change. And this is really an opportunity. Because if things aren't going well, you know, one day things will change. Just keep on going. It can bring many incredible opportunities. So work with the true nature of this world, the true law, the natural laws of this world. Work with change. Know things will change. What are these Atisha's teachings doing? The Bodhisattva's Garland jewels? They're a guideline. What are they a guideline for? A guideline to help us change. To change where? To change from within. To change our own minds. And he's sharing these guidelines. If you follow these guidelines and you really practice them, you can attain the same realizations of Atisha. You can attain incredible realizations. Your life can really change. You can really be of incredible benefit to others. And we should practice these with enthusiasm. Practice them with joy. It's good to understand why we're practicing. When we realize, wow, we can be free of all of these afflictions, all of our negative emotions, All our troubles can be reduced. Our life can be full of joy. We can be of benefit to others. Fill others' lives with joy. Become more open, more spacious, more effective, more efficient. We can free ourselves from the cycle of samsara. This should be a lot of motivation. It should be really help us become enthusiastic to practice. And enthusiasm is very important. You know, as they say, enthusiasm sells. It's not that we're buying or selling anything, but really, enthusiasm does sell. It gives us direction, it gives us energy, it gives us motivation. When things aren't working, or we get knocked down, we get up again. Doesn't matter, we get knocked down, we get up again. We get knocked down, we get up again, because we're enthusiastic about it. We're diligent about it. When we're enthusiastic, we're diligent. I get knocked down, I get up again. It goes like that somehow. And when we're full of enthusiasm and we're full of joy, it's nice to be around. Other people are also enthusiastic. They also like to join in as well. And be full of joy with your practice as well. This is enthusiasm. You can be thinking, it's important to create enthusiasm in our lives. You can be going, I'm going to practice today. Oh yes. I'm going to learn how to benefit others. I'm going to be free from all the suffering. We can sort of be going along like this. Have this attitude towards your practice. And so we read now from the verse. Be done with doubt and indecision, and embrace your practice with all your heart. Shake off lethargy, dullness and laziness, and strive always with enthusiasm and joy. So we are speaking about enthusiasm and joy. And wish for joy and enthusiasm for others as well. Don't make your practice a chore. Don't make it a burden. If your practice is a chore or a burden, then all you think about is, when can I let go of this burden? When can I let go of this chore? And if that's the case, how are you going to carry on? After a while, you're not going to be enthusiastic anymore. In the beginning, when you start, it is difficult. It does take some getting used to. But keep on going. Then it becomes more and more a habit, a way of thinking, a way of practice. It becomes easier and easier, and then you really start to see and feel the benefits. Just like going to gym. The first time you go to gym, you haven't been for a long time. You get there, you see what everybody's doing, you can hardly do what they're doing, you're feeling so embarrassed. And you try, and the next day, all your muscles are sore. But you go back again. Why? Because you think, well, if I keep on practicing, if I keep on training, I'll get fit, I'll become healthy again. Then after a month, 2 months, 3 months, oh, you can't wait. I can't wait until I go back to gym again. I can't wait to go and practice again. And it becomes easier and easier, you become healthier and fitter. And this will happen with the practice as well. And we can see so often why we have so much suffering is because we place so much energy on our attachments. Maybe we really like coffee, or we really like to go to movies, really like spending time with all our friends. So we say, okay, we're going to do a meditation session. And maybe we're going to do 3 sessions, 10 minutes each, a few breaks in between. In the first session you do well, Second session, you're doing well. Near the end, you start thinking about, what about a cup of coffee? You start your third session, and after the first minute, I really feel like that cup of coffee. It would be really great if I organize with so-and-so, invite them, maybe we can see a movie as well. And so these thoughts start to arise. And then 10 minutes isn't even up. After 5 minutes, enough of this meditation. Let's go and have that cup of coffee. Let's go join everybody. Let's go have a good time. And then when we're having coffee with people at the movies, we don't think about practice at all. The time goes by. 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours. How often do we think while we're having a cup of coffee? Are we with friends? We're going to movies. I can't wait to get back to my practice. I can't wait to meditate, to practice love and kindness and compassion. I hope I have so much time to do this. I definitely am not going to let anything distract me. So you see our priorities. We want to change. We really want to be free of suffering. But what are we prioritizing? It's not that I say, don't go and have coffee. Don't spend time with your friends. But also, what are we spending most of our energy on? Be very aware of distractions, just as we spoke about there. They take us away from our practice. They take us away from our ability or our transformation, our change. They creates obstacles. And then we don't practice for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and eventually we end our life. Suddenly life ends, and we think, what have we done? What did we achieve? How much change happened? And it's also very important not to force other people. If other people are interested in what you're doing, in your practice, share with them. Share openly, enthusiastically, joyfully. Have patience with them because they're also learning. Just like we were learning when we started, we also benefited from other people's patience and help. But don't force. If you force them once, twice, many times, then they start to get frustrated. They get annoyed. They don't want to hear about it anymore. As soon as you raise the subject, leave me alone. And they get a negative feeling towards it. So what happens is, if you force them, then they don't want to talk about it. Somebody else they may have a connection with might talk to them as well. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know. But if you don't force them, maybe you just don't have that connection with them, with this topic. But they're sitting with somebody else, and they listen to this person, and the way this person explains it, and the mood that they're in, and the situation, and the environment. They think, wow, this is really true. This is wonderful. I really want to know more about this. I really want to practice. Then you come home, and then they say, but I told you so many times. Sometimes this happens. Sometimes we just have different connections with people. Just like children, sometimes with parents. The parents tell the child again and again and again. The child goes to somebody else, they hear it from somebody else, they come and they say, Mom and Dad, you know this and this. And the parents say, how many times have we told you this? But there's just a different connection. Sometimes this happens. So don't force people. If you've got something to share and they are willing to listen, share it. Sometimes though, a little bit of force is not a bad thing. Sometimes a little force, if you know the person and you know their character, it can help. So now you think, I'm contradicting myself here. But not really. An example of this was when I was young. When I was young, my mother decided to take me to the soccer field to play some soccer. There was a club not so far away. When we were driving there, I was starting to sulk, get into a bad mood. And when we got there, I wouldn't get out the car. I was really sulking, really being a little brat. My mother got out the car. She came to the other side, opened the door, grabbed me by the arm, and pulled me. I was kicking. I don't know if I was shouting. I was definitely pulling back, resisting. I got to the soccer field and there were other children playing. Somebody kicked a soccer ball to me and the next minute I was playing soccer. And I loved it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So you see, in that case, a little bit of force, a little bit of a push by my mother was actually of great kindness, of great benefit. If she hadn't done that, maybe I would have never started soccer. But she knew that my character was, I'm a very timid child in starting new things, so she forced me into it. And afterwards, thank you so much. So sometimes a little bit of force can help sometimes. And so we have these most incredible teachings of Atisha, the Bodhisattva's Garland of jewels, which are there to guide us and to help us transform our mind. And it's very important that we make it a practice, that it's not just as theory. The theory is not going to help resolve all our problems. And we'll talk to that for today. Let's dedicate these merits. The greatest of gratitude, first to our perfect teachers, to Gyalwai Nyugu Rinpoche, Achuk Lama, Trulgarik Rinpoche, all great masters. And that by this merit, all may attain omniscience, having defeated the enemies of wrongdoings in the turbulent waves of birth, old age, sickness and death. May all be free from the cycle of the suffering of samsara. Sonam de tamja dzabanye, topnye nyepe tranang kajeja, keka nachid balang trupai, tsipu tsoli droa sho.